Hello, my name's Katharine Whitcomb, and I'm the author of a new poetry collection, Habitats, that just came out in January of 2024 from Poetry Northwest Editions. And I'd like to thank Boulder Bookstore for inviting me to do an interview about this book and to introduce myself to you. I'm a poet, writer, collaborative artist, and professor currently living in northern Vermont. Habitats is my third full-length poetry collection and was published this year. And first question is, can I give you a very brief overview of my poetry collection? Habitats explores how searching for beauty, for meaning, for collective intensity of feeling leads us through experience to belonging to ourselves. So says Arthur Z., the poet, in endorsing this book. The speaker in Habitats is searching for belonging, indeed. These poems take us through three habitats: forests, hotels, and dreams, carrying the reader on travels in these habitats to contemplation of animals, nature, heartbreak, loss, mortality, survival. What inspired me to write the poems in this book? These poems were written over a period of about 5 years, a time of change and upheaval in my life. I turned to poetry to help me make sense of being a human, to think through my experiences in the context of what it feels like to be alive in the 21st century, before, during, and after a global pandemic, with my parents dying, and through contemplation of my own mortality and of relationships being brought closer into focus. Why did I call this poetry collection Habitats? Habitats are places where a species lives and grows. I noticed that the poems group themselves loosely into those set in nature predominantly. So I called that section Forest. Poems set in other countries or on travels. And many of those poems have hotel in their title. And so I called that section Hotels. And those set in the imagination, in the world of ideas, in contemplation of the future. And those poems I put into the dreams section. Grouping them this way helped me to explore the relationships those poems had to each other within those habitats. How did I decide on the order of poems in my collection? I thought about the reader, first of all, stepping into the book and what I wanted them to experience first. I knew once I had decided on the three habitats that the sections would be in that order, beginning with forest, then hotels, then dreams. And I spent a lot of time figuring out effective ordering of the poems in each section. What would introduce the reader to the rest of the poems in each section? What were strong, evocative images to begin each section with? And how did I want to pace the reader through the sequence of poems? Can you tell us about your writing process? Well, like most writers, I'm ruled by obsession and inspiration. I get interested in an idea and I want to work on exploring those ideas by noting them in a writer's notebook that I keep, and then laying them out on the computer and working with them and revising them on the computer. I'm always reading books. I'm always reading other poets and writing and thinking about ideas for writing. And I'm interested in so many things that it often takes a lot of discipline to restrain myself to one project. What are a couple books that you've read recently that you really loved? Well, I am a big fan of the fiction writer Lauren Groff. I just reread her brilliant short story collection, Florida, and her recent novel, The Vaster Wilds. The Vaster Wilds is a survival narrative as told by an escaped servant girl from Jamestown in the 1600s. I would recommend both books and her previous novel, Matrix. Groff's writing is so lyrical and muscular, and her work is so inspiring to me. And you can order copies of her books from Boulder Bookstore. Is there anything else you would want, I would want you to know about my book? I will say that people who don't normally like poetry enjoy my work. There's no secret code. The poems can be read and understood at many levels. If you're searching for meaning as a human being, I think you would like Habitats. And I will end by reading a poem from the book. And this poem is a haibun, which is a prose poem with a 3-line haiku at the end. It is ekphrastic. It's about an artwork. And a reviewer recently wrote that it seems like this poem shouldn't work, but that it does miraculously. So I'll take that as a win and see what you think. Along the narrow roads, some sunlight. When the flower shop door jangles, the women behind the counter glance up together, 6 of them all working in sync and laughing amidst the waiting piles of roses and Gerbera daisies. Their shop feels like somebody's kitchen after the screen door has banged and they say, "Oh, it's you, friend. Come in. Leave the biting wind outside." Sometimes to write the right words to give with flowers is difficult. The mourners rip up scratched out cards and start their messages over again. They try so hard to get it right. Remember Monet in Paris after the war, bringing his water lilies to the French? In l'Orangerie's big oval rooms, floor to ceiling, nymphaeus surround the public in an aquarium of flowers and water. Outside the museum walls, the gray gravel paths and espaliered fruit trees, granite blue Seine slipping under the bridges. Inside, Parisians weary from the ghastly war, so many sons and fathers dead in the trenches and the fields, walked into cerise and lemon-colored lily blossoms, no borders, waterlight. To enter the gallery, one is instructed to stand in a portal room, then step forward with peace. Today in l'Orangerie, tourists with selfie sticks cruise the rooms, everyone taking their own little movies. But in the crowd, a man who has traveled many thousand miles just to be there might start crying loudly with the paintings around him. And instead of shushing him, the other patrons pull out their handkerchiefs and blot their eyes in agreement and weep bewildered together among shimmering blooms. Cut loose in time. Back in the flower shop, a song from long ago plays over the sound system, and all the flower women sing along, raising their heads to us in greeting. Thank you very much. I hope you buy Habitats and go to the Boulder bookstore and get your copy and let me know what you thought. Thank you.